Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Princeton, where in our open and welcoming community we live our message of hope, love, justice, and joy. We extend a special welcome to our visitors this morning. We're really happy that you've joined us, and we'd love to get to know more about you after the service. If you haven't already stopped by our newcomer table, please do so that we can add you to our e-lists and let you know about all the different things we have coming up here at UU Princeton. And there's a lot coming up here. After worship today, all are invited to our Zen meditation group, which meets at 11:45 in Foz Theater for an hour of practice and a Dharma talk. It's perfect for newcomers and seasoned practitioners alike. Indeed, all are welcome. Tomorrow, all are invited to the annual Community Interfaith Thanksgiving service at 7 p.m. at Princeton University Chapel. This is co-sponsored by the Princeton Clergy Association, of which our congregation is a part, and the Office of Religious Life at Princeton University, with which we also have a chaplain affiliation. Lots of different local religious leaders and musicians are participating in this hour-long service, which again is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the chapel on the campus of Princeton. Beautiful chapel all the time, but when you're there at nighttime, it's even a little more beautiful. So be there if you can. Next week, all are invited to stay after worship for a program titled Stillness in Advent Practice. The wonderful Pauline Nijander and I are putting together an Advent meditation manual using the words of the great modern Christian mystic Howard Thurman. You'll get the manual and a brief introduction to Advent and Howard Thurman. Pauline and I would love to see you there next week. We think it'll be in the Murray Room, but we'll confirm the location during worship next week. Lots of stuff happening in December. On December 8th, we have after Black Friday and Cyber Monday Styrofoam Sunday. You can stop off after the service and drop off your styrofoam for responsible upcycling. You can see happenings in the weekly e-newsletter and skylights for guidelines on what kind of styrofoam we can accept. This is a UU Princeton only collection event, but feel free to bring in foam from friends and family if you'd like to. And mark your calendars and check out the newsletter that's coming up for our tree trimming holiday party on December 15th from 5 to 8 p.m. That's a wonderful festive all ages December event, one of many things we have going on this month here. Lots happening. Please keep an eye on happenings and e-happenings in your emails for all of the different events we have coming up at UU Princeton. And now at this sacred hour, grateful for each and welcoming all, let us be together for a time of peace and balance in a space of community and acceptance in which we can remember the good and seek the true and look together toward that love that holds all. Come, let us worship together.
No one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. Reverend Halford Lukács. Good morning. So I don't know if this is true of everybody, but one of the categories I keep in my head pretty regularly is favorite numbers. Some of them come from outside sources, like 42, which according to the author Douglas Adams, is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. What the question is, I still don't know, and probably never will. That's the point. Another of my favorite numbers is 26, and that I could not tell you why. I just remember waking up one morning in middle school and finding it a very satisfying, but still complex, mysterious number. I'm a math librarian, but there absolutely is no logic to this. It's just a quality. I like 26. 7, however, I definitely understand where my love for that came from, namely from my love of television. 7 seems to be the platonic ideal for a manageable number of main characters: the office crew, the starship bridge, the party who adventures through their shared fictional world together. But Emma, I hear you say, what about Friends? Friends had 6 people. Leverage, underrated show, had 5 people, and it's one of the best heist crews ever committed to film. 5. Yeah, there are a bunch of exceptions, but you pitch me a good 7-person show and I will nearly always try it. As an introvert and a person who loves having friends, but has sometimes in my life struggled to make them, I could take solace in these fictional septets. Whether it was the age of peak Star Trek in the 1990s, my obsession with the West Wing in the early 2000s, or even my deep dive into MASH, the trope namer, conceit shaper of many of them. Seven was in the hands of the right showrunner, the right set of writers, enough personalities to provide endless amounts of productive conflict. I'll say productive conflict. Seven was the number to take those individuals into something memorable above their individual selves, engrave them into the cultural consciousness. But looking back, there was a pitfall to this solace that I may or may not have been aware of at the time or times, and that has been pointed out by many perceptive critics since then. The longer a fictional show goes on, the more drama or comedy or whatever has to be wrung out of just those 5 or 6 or 7 people. They become so enmeshed in each other's lives that nothing ever seems to happen outside of them. It's especially true of workplace fiction, medical shows, cop shows. When do these people ever go home? Is their social life wrapped up completely in the police station or the hospital or the paper company? The answer is they don't. To quote William Shatner, it's just a TV show. But that ideal in front of an impressionable 20-something might still have implicitly led me to seek that ideal out, finding that perfect set of people who would magically make me a main character in my own life. Maybe I'm still looking for that to a certain extent, I'll be honest. But what I have found along the way is that I'm really best off setting up the life boundaries that would make for an excessively boring television show. No one place in your life can or should do everything for you, even if there are going to be some places that are more dominant than others. Most of you here in the church will never meet my family, my coworkers, my library colleagues across the country and the world, my internet friends out there in the ether, in the tubes. But together you make me stronger, and I hope that I can return that in some kind, even a little bit. You are not 7 people, you are literally and figuratively so much more, and I appreciate it.
If you were to believe my cat, you would believe that she has never had a morsel of food in her entire life. If she's awake and you walk into the kitchen, she's likely to proclaim that falsehood quite loudly, quite insistently, belligerently. She will look you in the eye, standing next to her bowl of, yes, cat food, a bowl that is always there and always full, always abundantly full, not just of cat food, but the expensive kind because she has a sensitive tummy. She will stand there, look you dead in the eye, and lie to you and say she has nothing to eat and in fact has never eaten anything. She will yell that lie at you. She will try to convince you that what you see is not real, that the food with which you topped off her bowl earlier that day is imaginary, that there has in fact never been food there, and that she will waste away any moment now unless she is given food atop the food that is clearly already in her bowl. My cat, cute as she can be, is a pathological liar. She's been that way since she joined our family in the 2010-2011 church year, and we're not expecting her to change. However, her fur looks particularly pretty in the sunlight. It catches the rays and it changes colors. And it's sweet how she'll move with the sunbeam across the floor, napping in it only to awaken and move when the sunbeam has moved. She always finds it until it cannot be found anymore. And she likes to keep the kids company. She'll sit on their laps and check in on them. She regularly attended school with them during the first part of COVID when all was online. I felt like she should have received a report card herself that year. And though these episodes are decreasing as she advances in age, she does still have those moments of chasing a catnip-laced toy mouse around the living room or being playful in other ways. She still likes a nice scratch and stretches out her legs when you do it. She still tempts you to give her a belly rub, even though that always ends with a swat and a bite. She will still sometimes walk into a room, make eye contact just to be assured that someone else is there, and then move on. She is indeed a little liar, but she's an adorable little liar. And she's ours, an abundance that is sometimes a handful, but is overall more than worth all of her fuss. And she teaches us with her obviously false assertions of scarcity about the obvious abundance that surrounds us. For who among us hasn't opened up a fridge full of food only to declare that there is nothing in this house to eat? Or opened a cabinet full of snacks only to declare that someone really needs to go shopping? Or wandered around the Wawa for longer than expected looking for something to nosh upon among snack after snack after snack? Though we may not shriek as Della Lee Neely does, we have the same response sometimes. We live in abundance, but see only scarcity. Sometimes that is because we only see what we bring to the table. I'm reminded of the old stone soup story, one of my favorites, about the traveler who tricks a village into making a great big giant communal meal from each of their individual contributions. He starts with water over a fire and adds a stone to the pot, and then says a carrot would make this soup better, and someone brings some carrots, and then some spices, and someone brings spices, and then an onion, a potato, some celery, squash, all the vegetables. He just keeps saying, if only we had this, the soup would be better, until the people in the village start thinking about what to add, and they take over the feast making. They had been hesitant to offer anything at first, but good builds on good. And once others start giving, others do too. And then if it were my story, someone would add some pasta and beans and make it minestrone. And someone would heat up some bread because soup needs bread. But however the soup turns out, it's a feast because everyone contributed. Alone, no one could have made that. Plenty would not have had all the ingredients to begin with. The story is usually told in a way to indicate that the villagers just don't want to share at first, but some wouldn't have had that much to share with to begin with. They may have had some carrots, but not many, not enough for an extra meal, but they had enough to add to this big communal meal where everyone would contribute what they could. When we feed each other like this, scarcity turns into abundance. Whether it's food for the body or nourishment for the soul, we each have something to offer, a wholeness greater than only our lives. We each have beauty and power and nourishment to give one another. We each are resilient and creative, flexible and firm. We each have gifts in great measure enough to give away, knowing that when they are combined with others, everyone can eat and everyone can learn and everyone can grow, be accepted, be encouraged, be consoled. Everyone can care and everyone can be cared for. Everyone could hold and everyone can be held. This world of abundance, this beloved image of a just, fair, and generous community comes about through giving, not of one to many, but of many to all. This leads to a wholeness that is greater than the gifts, a human equation of abundance known in communities of love and care, where many come together to form a new emergence of shared life and spirit. And when that emergence takes place across and over generations, from young to old this day, and from those gone to those living to those coming in the span of time, the community's gifts are measured in even greater strength and vibrancy. For we each not only offer our gifts in accord with one another, but in accord with those offered of generations past and with faith in those to come. We take our turn, giving as we do, knowing that others did and believing that others will as well. And in this, when Aristotle wrote, "The whole is greater than the sum of the parts," we know that our wholeness is built not only by one or a few today, but by each and all of today, of yesterday, and we pray and plan for tomorrow. For we are an emergence, a holy human process, a new evolving relational expression of a sacred community finding itself more and more needed in this world. Our values of hope, love, justice, and joy need proclamation from many voices. Our faith in the good, our belief that the holy sparks life in each heart, our trust in forgiveness, reconciliation, and redemption, our sacrament of service, our gospel of love, are each and all too essential for a few to live in voice. They are each and all too needed for just some to offer. They are each and all a vision to be proclaimed by many, so that the vision comes alive and nourishes minds and hearts near and far. For today, cynicism fills the air. Fear is packaged and sold. Regression is glossed up as progress, and good people are misled to believe that their neighbors threaten them and that strangers wish them ill. We are led to division, and being divided, we see no holiness in one another, which means that we know not the holy in ourselves. We greet one another with no holy word, acknowledgement, or blessing. We instead, with wary eye, watch one another, making sure our carrots and stones stay our carrots and stones. We are then diminished ourselves, having moved away from the goodness and grace from which liberal faith flows, and moved toward that which would bend the moral arc of the universe away from justice, and toward the always desperate, always scarce realms of fear and division. We will not fear. It can be sold and proclaimed by every power-obsessed profiteer on the globe, and we will not succumb to it. We will not fear one another. We will not fear the stranger. We will help our neighbors and greet with open mind and heart the people we haven't met yet. In the months and years to come, we will have to bend the moral arc toward justice together. All of our hands will need to be on it, and though we will not push with equal strength, we will push with what we have, joining people and communities beyond ours in this human and holy work. In thought, word, and deed, the days ahead of us call for no fear, only faith in the good, confidence in our deeds, and belief in one another. As those before us did, and as some of us have in our lifetime in this room, and in the service of those to come, we will not fear one another or the future. We will love our neighbors and love the stranger and build a future that is closer to just and free for all. Though we are not there yet, that magical yet of the beloved community awaits our animated and faithful force of love, a force not of one, but of all of us. These days claim and call us to neither shrink nor recede, but to rise and proclaim with many voices in one chorus that love is our guide and service is our prayer and justice is the dream that we make more and more real every day, just as those before us did. To hatred and fear and greed, we respond with love and faith and service. We enliven that legacy anew, and then we leave it for those to come. And we are abundant in those gifts needed to make that magical yet more real. We will practice building here the community we wish to bless all everywhere. We will build each other up and celebrate together and find fellowship and caring and beauty and peace. We will know here a slice of an imperfect but more beloved community so that we have a vision of how our values can guide our circles in the larger world. We will be strengthened in our values here, strengthened by how we bless one another with them so that we can bless neighbor and stranger with them as well. In this way, we will be both the harbor in which one can find respite and the port from which the same launches into stormy waters, carrying the truth and strength of hope, love, justice, and joy for the whole journey. Though none of us own the full harvest of those values, we all have some of them. And when we bring them to our shared table, we have enough to feed everyone who shows up. Everyone can eat and be full, and everyone can then go do the work of good people, making the world a better place, neighbor by neighbor, stranger by stranger, state by state, and country by country. Though my cat would lie to us and say that we have not the food we need, we know the cabinet is full, the fridge is stocked, the bowl is overflowing, not as one or a few, but together we are abundant in the gifts we need to bless the fear out of this world. Let us give of that abundance by loving one another and loving the stranger this day and always, in all climates, in all seasons. Amen. After our benediction, if you have a moment, you can head over to the founder's room to help sort and package all of the offering that we've made for Armenard. Many hands are needed for that. At the end of the hour, we extinguish our chalice, knowing that its light carries us until we gather again. Go forth grateful for the moments before you, the breath within you, the people among you, and the Spirit guiding you toward lives of love and kindness. And go forth knowing that you are held always and always with everyone else by that great love of no beginning and never ending. Go in peace, and amen.